Some show up at Keeneland just to be beautiful, some for the burgoo. Me, it's because the best handicapping challenge on God's green earth is right here in Kentucky. Star horses come from Florida, California, and New York, Arkansas, and Louisiana, all to what undoubtedly is the greatest horse racing melting pot in America.
Into the stretch at Keeneland, and Flight Line just moves right by. Life is good.
Win here and you've done something. Love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. That's Keeneland. Now, let's get handicapping. And welcome in, everyone. Thanks for spending your Friday night with me, Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now and Keeneland.com with the Saturday Keeneland Look Ahead program as we look ahead to the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup, a fantastic feature race, Grade 1 company, $600,000. It'll be the featured race on a 10-race card that gets underway at 1 o'clock Eastern. Friday action today included graded stakes company with the Sycamore Stakes. It was the Godolphin Blue getting the trophy in that one as Charlie Appleby and company came up just short last week in the Coolmore Turf Mile. They got the big prize they were looking for at Keeneland with Bold Act at 5-2 odds, getting up under Jamie Spencer just in time to win today's Sycamore at 1.5 miles on the grass. Some of those same actors will be back in the Saturday feature and, of course, gearing up towards the Breeders' Cup, now just over, 2-3 weeks away. Horses that run this weekend have a shot the wheel back in the Breeders' Cup. We will see Caravel, the defending champ in the Breeders' Cup the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. She was the filly, the mare who beat the boys last year in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. She's on Sunday's card at Keeneland in the Franklin Stakes, and it would come back a little less than 20 days, I guess, would be the rest time to run back in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint to defend her title. So still potential Breeders' Cup action with the horses running at Keeneland this weekend. So a lot to look forward to. Today on the racetrack on the Friday card, it was a little bit of everything. It was a potpourri of circuits. These circuits produce winners. This is just the last out location for horses who won on the card today. Saratoga, Del Mar, Pimlico, Ellis Park, FanDuel Racing, Churchill Downs with 3 winners, and St. Cloud, France. I mean, you talk about, I always call Keeneland the melting pot of racing, and it really, truly is. That's part of what makes it difficult to handicap because, look, even some of these horses, there's 3, 4, 5, 6 good options in every race from different venues. They're hard to match up, and it doesn't create necessarily boxcar prices. There can be very logical winners at 3-1, 4-1, and you didn't have them in your top 3. There was an even money that won today that I didn't have in my top 3. So it happens. It's the way that Keeneland is. We just accept that. And as they always say, you're not trying to beat the races. You can't beat the races, but you can beat a race. And I think that's how you approach Keeneland. Get a race, nail it 7 ways to Sunday when you've got a strong opinion. But every race of the entire meet is a challenge. So pick your spots. That's the key to all the handicapping at Keeneland. We will give you my 3 top plays on the card in just a moment when we look at the big picture for this 10-race program. Also want to let you know that we'll have the handicapper selectors box where all the handicappers from Keeneland.com, where you can download and print their picks. We will match wits here in the selectors box and show you where we think the favorites might come from, which races are wide open, where we're all taking different kind of horses, and give you a sense of how the tote board may play out. What does Mother Nature have in store for the Saturday card for QE2 Day? Well, 50% chance of rain overnight, supposed to hit Lexington about midnight and rain in the overnight hours. 40% chance that the showers will continue through the morning, but then supposed to break away. So we should have a good day if you're out visiting the races. We could have a wet track to start things out. I don't think we're looking at any danger of losing the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup from the turf. I think that's confident that we will see that race on the turf. What they do in maybe race number 5 on the undercard, we're just going to have to see. Wait and check out the conditions. But we're going to handicap for being on the grass tomorrow. It doesn't look like it's going to be a tremendous rainstorm, but it's hard enough to pick the horses, much less the weather. And, you know, the weathermen who get paid to do that, well, struggle with it. Just like me as a handicapper, I struggle sometimes and I'm paid to pick horses. So we're in the prediction business. We don't have a crystal ball, but I think for tomorrow, we're going to try to just handicap this like we're going to be on the grass. As for today, hot jockey Luis Saez had 2 wins. Other than that, the other races went to 8 other riders. So 9 jockeys won the 10 race on the card. The only double up was Luis Saez. So let's take a look at this 10-race program at Keeneland for Saturday, QE2 Day. Lines up this way on the big picture. If this is the first time checking out the podcast, thanks for tuning in. We'll explain the big picture here for you. These are the 10 races on the card in which multi-race wagers start in each of those races. So the early pick 5 will start in race number 1. Then we'll start at pick 4 in race number 2. Pick 6 on a Saturday card is race number 5 through 10. So it starts there in the 5th. The green designation is for the Turf Pick 3. The $3 Keeneland Turf Pick 3 will be races 5, 7, and 9. That's been fairly consistent. 5, 7, and 9 on this card on Saturday for the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. Final pick 5 will begin in the 6th race. The late pick 4 starts in race number 7. And again, our stakes on the program is the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. It will be race number 9 of 10. First post at 1 o'clock, and be sure to tune in at 11:30 a.m. Eastern for today at Keeneland. You can check that out at Keeneland.com on the YouTube channel and also on the simulcast feed where Scott Hazelton and Caton Bradar will give you the latest information. You'll know all about the weather by that point, but certainly tune in on social media channels as well. But Scott and Caton, 11:30 for Keeneland today. I've got 3 key plays on the card. We happen to have one right off the bat in race number 1. We'll explain who that might be at a decent price because I think some of the early races on this program have some heavy favorites, races 2, 3, 4, 5 in that kind of area where we're going to have some shorter price favorites. So I've got a long shot I like in the opener. Let's go ahead and try to maybe make a little play and a little hay right off the bat. We've got also key plays in races 7 and 9 as we've got the a long shot maybe to consider against all the top Europeans in the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. Okay, we'll get to all the races individually, starting now with the first on the program. Race number 1's got a couple different players for Creative Way on top. Tom Leach and Caton Bradar both have that one picked. Libertango, the 6 for Scott. Stand for Freedom, the 1 for Kim. And I've got the 10 in here blocked. I'm totally on the island here. Nobody else has the 10 anywhere around. And as we said on the big picture, this is my long shot play. Price play right off the bat. So we're going to take a shot in here with blocked in race number 1. Outside post position for this one, not a big deal when you're talking about 7 furlongs on the main track. Your outside post, obviously a bigger disadvantage in 2-turn races where you lose ground on the first turn. You never want to have to run farther, but sometimes being outside, you don't lose momentum. And in a 7 furlong race like this, in race number 1, the outside post is actually advantageous. Horse can stay completely out in the clear, a huge long run until you get to the one and only turn. So if you're still hung out wide, 4 or 5 wide, when we get to the 1 turn in a 7 furlong race, you weren't winning anyway. You weren't good enough to get yourself into any kind of good position at all. So I'm going to take the outside runner in here, number 10 blocked. Raylu Gutierrez rides. This is a son of Union Rags. You know I like the Union Rags here on the main track. Good percentage for that sire with horses running here at Keeneland. And in this race, this is a non-winners of 2 lifetime claimer. We've talked about this each and every night, but it's a handicapping tip in these non-winners of 2 races you got to take with you, whether you're talking Keeneland or any track America. Non-winners of 2 lifetime means the horses have just 1 career victory. Look at the wins for each horse. Who's got the strongest win on paper in terms of class in these races a lot of times can be the strength of a non-winners of 2 lifetime. Blocked won a maiden special weight at Horseshoe Indianapolis, a good solid summer-fall racing circuit in maiden special weight company. You look at the other horses in this race who might contend with the best maiden win. Bucktown has a maiden special at Tampa Bay Downs in mid-February. Pretty decent racing down there during the winter, but I wouldn't say stronger than Horseshoe Indianapolis. I think fairly similar, if not Indianapolis being the stronger of those. And then the other horse who's got a maiden special win is Libertango. Libertango won a maiden special at Turfway in the winter. Again, that's apples. You're kind of juggling a little bit there. What's stronger, a maiden special at Turfway or a maiden special at Horseshoe Indianapolis? I think the Indy races are just slightly tougher in a maiden special, but you could certainly make a case. Those 3 are the 3 that have won maiden specials, and they've definitely got the strongest wins on paper. So some of my other handicapping brethren have those horses in their top slots. Libertango that we mentioned, Scott Hazelton's got that one on top. As for Creative Way, the 5, the other top choice for some of the handicappers in here, Creative Way is a horse who was claimed last time out for $16,000 by Safi Joseph. He moved this one up maybe off of Joe Sharp, but both pretty good claiming outfits there. Joseph wins 21% first off the claim. So off a maiden claiming 16,000 wins. So this is the first time in a non-winners of 2 for Creative Way. First time facing winners. This one shortens from 1 mile and a 16th back to 7 furlongs. I did not use Creative Way in my top 3, but again, we talked about there are situations here at Keeneland where there are 3 or 4 good options and horses come from different venues that logical horses just may not fall in your top 3. Also use the 8 in here, Bucktown, a horse who's a big price perhaps. And again, we talked about Bucktown having that win at Tampa Bay Downs, a 5-length win back in May, or in February. So Bucktown and Blocked, 2 nice prices, 10 and 8 right off the bat. And as I said, as we look back to the big picture, these are price plays right off the bat. So I'm going to get win money on the 10 Blocked. I'm going to use the 10 and the 8 in multi-race wagers. And I'm going to try to get through the first leg with just those 2 price plays. I'm going to go with those 2 runners, 10 and 8, and see if we can't get one of those 2 prices in the early pick 5. The other one I've got in there, pick 3rd for me, is the 1 horse, and that is Stand for Freedom for an Ian Wilkes barn that's had 3 wins at the meet over the last few days. So his barn is picking up Stand for Freedom, but I'm going to go 10-8 on top. And again, I'm on an island with both horses. If we can get either one of these in to start off the pick 5, we're off to a great start. And I think we've got a pretty formful pick 5 in some of the upcoming races. So let's go to that second race on the card next. It's a pick 4 starter. So it's going to be the first leg of the early pick 4, second leg of the early pick 5. Maiden claimers here, $75,000 for the claiming price for these 2-year-olds, just a tick below the maiden special weight level as we're handicapping these juveniles. You've got Wesley Ward in here with Gillies West, the first-time starter with John Velasquez riding. Certainly have to respect those first-time starter connections. Steve Asmussen and his son Keith have a horse, Tap Anchor, that you've got to respect. They have a first-time starter out of the 2-hole in here. But I'm going to the outside, a horse who's got a little bit of experience. Robertino Diodoro sends out Patriot Hills off a race at Saratoga. It's a turf-to-dirt move. This is a $100,000 sales purchase as a 2-year-old by Speightstown. That's a lot to pay for a 2-year-old in training sale for a horse that, it's debuting or running second time for $75,000. So I'm going to assume he's got a little bit of class about him. Decent workout since the career debut. And Diodoro had 1-2 finishers on the card today. I like seeing that. In the final race on the program, he had 2 entries. They ran first and second. So let's get him wheeling right back, try to catch the barn while it's hot. I made these picks before I knew that he won the final 2 on today's card, but it makes me feel a little bit better about it. And that's the way stats and trends should be. They shouldn't be the reason why you're playing a horse. They should help boost your confidence or help take away some of your confidence in a particular horse. The fundamentals of handicapping still have to apply. You're looking for class, pace, things like that, how a horse matches up, how fast they are. Those are the basics of handicapping. And then you use these stats and trends for tiebreakers. And we know when it comes to Keeneland, there are so many tiebreakers. You go and handicap a race and you got 3 toss-outs, 6 of them still left on paper. How do you start separating the 6? That's where I start to like to use the stats and trends and try to separate some things out. So across the board here for the second race, Gillies West, the first-time starter for Wesley Ward, picked on top by all the other public handicappers. I've got Patriot Hills, Gillies West, my second choice in here. The one Salming I've got picked in third. But again, from a pick 4 standpoint, pick 5 standpoint, I will take Patriot Hills and Gillies West, go 2 deep in this particular spot. So 2 by 2, but to start things out as we head to the third race. Also, as you're handicapping this race, if you don't have a strong opinion of a horse underneath and say you want to play Gillies West, if Gillies West is your top pick in race number 2, the first-time starter, and the price is a little too short for you, keep in mind we got daily double possibilities, but a very short price likely, I think, coming up in race number 3. So you're not going to want to lean into a daily double favorite to favorite. But if you've got a price horse you like and you want to try to build off of that, like we do in race number 2, if we get Patriots Hills on top, a rolling daily double into race 3 might be a good play, because I think Light Line is going to be a very short price and very tough to beat in that particular spot. And as we look back to the other public handicappers, you're going to see Light Line picked 4 out of the 5 handicappers on top. Scott's going with Edified, a horse I've got marked as usable, a Steve Asmussen, 4th-time starter, a horse dropping out of the Iroquois. But Light Line is a horse who debuted at Horseshoe, Indianapolis, ran off by 13 3/4 lengths in a mile race. Now goes the mile and a 16th. This son of Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner, City of Light, should be awfully tough in here. Has 2-turn experience already. And again, an 83 buyer speed figure, if that's your kind of thing. Very slow fractions in the race at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. So to run a big buyer like that, really finished up with a plum on the back end of the race. Light Line, Tyler Gaffleone riding for Brad Cox. And going to let you in on a little stat now, because it's going to come up a couple times in this card. when it comes to mile and a 16th races at Keeneland, Brad Cox's horses are absolutely exceptional. They win almost 31% of the time. And we're going to give you even stronger stat a little bit later when it comes to his horses from the rail. Now, this one, Light Line's going to be farther out on the track, right? We're looking at the 6 horse in here, but 31% in mile and a 16th races. And I always try to say, put a little common sense to your stats and try to figure them out. If you've seen the Brad Cox horses dominate over the years as they have, a lot of times they'll turn for home and kind of re-break at the top of the stretch, right? They've got that surge at the top of the lane like the Bob Baffert trainees that a lot of other horses simply don't have. And when you think about the mile and the 16th races at Keeneland, the 16th pole was the finish line, right? They don't go all the way to the proper wire. So it's 110 less yards in the stretch that they have to deal with. You get that little re-break at the top of the stretch that so many of the Cox trainees get, and then it's gone. You're gone. There's no time for anybody to make up the ground and catch you. So that's why they're so effective, I think, at a mile and 16th races. Brad Cox could have a big day today on Saturday, and he's got Light Line as a heavy favorite, I think, and a very tough horse to beat here in the third race. As for the others in here, I said Scott's got the Edified. He's got the 7 Next Door, a horse who was 5th in the Iroquois Stakes. The 4th place finisher in the Iroquois is Seize the Gray. I've got that one picked in my top 3. I also give a little look in here to Stretch Ride for trainer Dale Romans. Romans does good with these 2-year-old allowance races that we've got at Keeneland in the fall. This one by Street Sense, a debut winner at Churchill and a good time, 110 and change. So Stretch Ride might be pretty good, stretching out to 2 turns. No doubt the pedigree says that the 2 turns won't be a big challenge. We'll just see if he's got enough foundation under him right now. But I think it's Light Line. I'm not going to mess around with exactas and tries in this race. I don't think we're looking at a big payoff on the underneath horses. So it's Light Line at a short price. So we're either going to try to get the Light Line with the daily double from races 2 to 3. Also, the pick 4 and pick 5, we're simply going to single in here. And look, if you sit a race out because the price is too short for something you like, then you got twice the amount of bankroll on the next race that you do like. So sit races out. There's no sin in that for sure. Use your budget. If you got $100 to play on 10 races, don't play $10 on every race. Sit some out or play $2 here and there. Then you've got 18 or 20 to put on the ones you like a lot more. So let's go to the 4th race next up. In the 4th race, we'll not start any of the multi-race wagers in here. And it's not one of our key plays of the day as we look at the big picture. So we move to the handicapper selectors box in race number 4. And if you thought Light Line looked like a heavy favorite amongst the public handicappers, one of the few sweeps of the entire meet, everybody's got It Takes Heart picked on top in this particular spot. Race number 4, It Takes Heart, a 3-year-old filly. She's got 3 victories, and she's eligible for this condition because it's a dual condition claimer. That means there's 2 different ways you can be eligible for this race. It's non-winners of 3 lifetime, or be a 3-year-old, and you can win as many races that you have on your record to take on older horses now. That's what It Takes Heart has a little advantage. She's already won 3 times. You've got some 4 or 5-year-olds on here that haven't won more than twice in their life. She's 3 and has already won 3 times. It's late enough in the year as we hit mid-October. I'm not so worried about the 3-year-olds taking older horses, especially in a condition like this where it's a lifetime condition. Non-winners of 3 lifetime. Those 4 and 5-year-olds have had forever to clear this condition, and they haven't. Some of them 2 for 20 lifetime. You see some big numbers there. So It Takes Heart, 3 for 10, good lifetime record, and coming off a big win last time out at Saratoga. This claiming trainer Robert Falcone, already has a win at the meet. He won one on the card today. A very high percentage New York claiming outfit, 30% plus when they claim a horse first time back. He gets Luis Saez, one of the top jocks here. He and Gaffleone have dominated Keeneland over the last decade. So it's Luis Saez and a very short price favorite for Falcone. And everybody's got him on top. So do we attack this race, intra-race, and try to go for a try or super? You'd have to have yourself a fairly nice price that you like underneath to start getting involved in that. I think there could be one in Cherry Air, and that's the horse I've got picked second in here. If you're going to look at a multi-race or an intra-race bet here, It Takes Heart as the top choice. Not going to pay enough for me to get excited in the win pool, but Cherry Air, the 4 horse, is a horse who's better on dirt and has just been misplaced in some turf sprints lately. 7th last time out, 7th 3 starts back. Luckily got washed off the turf 2 starts back and was a winner. This horse's dirt form is actually pretty darn decent. So I'm taking Cherry Air as a horse who can get second in here, trying to rally a little bit, maybe not too far off the pace, sit 3rd, 4th. But there's not a lot of speed to the inside. So while this horse may look like she may sit 3rd or 4th according to the running lines, with no speed to her inside, Cherry Air may actually try to pop a little bit more. Joe Talamo's a pretty hustling jockey. you might see Cherry Air near the front. And if that's the case, she's going to be tough in here to not get in the top 3. I think she'll hold second or third. So 8 all 4, a good way to approach maybe in the intra-race bets for the trifecta. So we'll try to get the 4 in as a price underneath the 8. It takes heart. On now to the 5th race, and as we hit the midway point in this card, it will start the pick 6. No carryover in the pick 6. It was taken down today. In fact, no carryovers. There was a super high 5 carryover into the nightcap today. That was hit as well. So we start fresh with everything on the Saturday card. Keeneland Turf pick 3 starts here in race number 5. Again, with the forecast of some overnight and morning rain, we will see if race number 5 stays on the turf. We're going to handicap it like it will. 1 1/8 grass, maiden special weight in here. And I like horses with pedigree when we're going 1 1/8 on the turf with these younger horses. The 3-year-old filly in here, Catmint, number 2 is going to be my top choice. And not a whole lot of love for Catmint as far as a top pick or 2, but hits the underneath with most of the handicappers in here. In fact, all 5's got Catmint somewhere. But I've got this Brad Cox trainee picked on top because she's by Kitten's Joy out of Antono. And Antono was a filly who won the Just a Game Grade 1 in New York, and also ran 3rd in the prestigious Grade 1 at Saratoga, the Diana Stakes. She was a really good turf mare. The distance obviously suits coming out of a 1 1/8 race. Second last time out at Churchill Downs, going the 1 1/8 trip. 3rd career start for this Brad Cox trainee. And going around 2 turns at a 1 1/8 like this, the 2 hole is going to be an advantage to be able to save some ground. Showed a bit more speed in the debut, a little more closer in the 2nd career start. So I don't know where Florent Giroux is going to put this filly in the race, but he's got options because he'll be able to save ground whether he wants to stay back or head towards the front. 7 of these horses come out of races at Kentucky Downs. That's usually the place you kind of look for these maiden special turfers, but you've got a lot of options from Kentucky Downs in this one. Heckled is a horse from Kentucky Downs you have to respect. Another one in the Godolphin Blue. This one trained by Mike Stidham, but 4 times in a row, Heckled has run 2nd in narrow defeats. Maybe just doesn't want to get the victory, likes to run with the herd. I put Heckled 2nd because I predict Heckled may run 2nd again for the 5th straight time. King's Secret, one you want to watch in here. Again, I like the pedigrees the longer we go on the turf. Brendan Walsh had a winner today on the grass. Excellent barn there. Tyler Gaffleone rides King's Secret. This is an offspring of Kingman, who's an outstanding international sire of long-distance horses. French Derby winner is the Dam sire. There's a lot to like on the pedigree for King's Secret to go this 9 furlong. I think any of the top 3 could be the winners in here, 2, 9, and 8. And as you look across the handicapper selectors box, look who the top picks are. I've got the 2, the 9 Heckled picked by Caton and Kim. Tom and Scott both have King's Secret. It's 2, 9, and 8. So I would go 3 deep in this particular spot, but Catmint is the horse I want to get in there. I think that one will offer a fair price. So I'm going to play exacta key boxes, 2, 9, and 2, 8. I've got to get the 2 in there first or second when we play it that way. And in terms of the multi-race wagers, go 3 deep in here, 2, 9, and 8. So, we're looking at a situation where we're kind of 2 deep in the opener, 2 deep in the second, singled in the third. I think we go 2 deep in the fourth, and then 3 deep in the fifth. Not a very expensive ticket for 50 cents when you're adding that up for the early pick 5. So I think the early pick 5 on this card is playable. We will see if the 5th race stays on the turf. Again, that's the start of the Keeneland Turf pick 3. I would use 3 of them in the 5th race. Next up on the program is the 6th. The late pick 5 will start in race number 6. That pick 5, of course, will include the feature race on the grass, that being the 9th race on the card, the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. But race number 6 is a 2-year-old maiden special weight going 1 1/16. And these races for the 2-year-olds going long in the fall meet historically have been pretty formful. So if you're going for a big price in this race, it may not be the spot to do it. Dive Bomber is the one I'm taking here for Brad Cox. Again, Brad Cox at 1 1/16. This one towards the outside of the gate, obviously. Dive Bomber from the far outside in the 12 hole, but has some tactical speed off of those sprint races at Saratoga, going 7/8 of a mile. Sire Omaha Beach had 2 winners here on the dirt opening week. And again, the Brad Cox horses at 1 1/16 win about 31% here at Keeneland. Just a fantastic percentage. I'm going to take Dive Bomber, and as we mentioned a little bit earlier with a pick we had a couple days ago, if you like a horse in the outside post position and you know it's a bit of a detriment, maybe that'll help your price. Would you fair odds make a horse like Dive Bomber? Look at the rest of the field, try to establish what you think the fair odds on this horse should be, and then demand that you get a little bit more because you're taking the outside post position. That's the way I'll look at it. I think this horse looks 6-5 to me on paper. I think he's a standout in this race. I think he's the easy winner from a better post position. So if from the 12 hole, you think he's a 6-5 shot from a better post, from the 12 hole, he's 2-1, 9-5, something like that would be fair odds. So if you get 9-5, 2-1, I think that's a fair price on Dive Bomber in race number 6. Other horses to watch in this race, you've got the Sapling Stakes runner-up, trotting back in the maiden company, that being the 2 Dornoch. Danny Gargan trains that, son of Good Magic. What a great year for Good Magic. Of course, sired Mage, the Kentucky Derby winner, and so many others this year. Dornoch, the 2's got a very good post position for this particular race. And I think the 5 Omaha Beach, another Omaha Beach offspring, the 5 Allied Victory, could offer a good price in here. Blinkers on for a very capable Ben Colebrook barn, and Gerardo Corrales, a speed jock, takes over. This horse didn't show speed in the first 2 races, but the additional blinkers and the change of rider could put Allied Victory closer to the pace. And I think in race number 6, that's an interesting horse for the underneath. So Allied Victory, the 5. This is another situation where if the win price on Dive Bomber isn't appealing enough for you, then I would look at the trifectas in here, 12-5 all, 12 all 5. That's the way I like to do it. Take a price horse underneath, get him in both spots, and see if you can't get a little bingo mixed in there with them. Not that expensive to do that. In a race like this, you're talking about $5 for 50 cents for each time you put them first or second, $10 if you do the whole buck. So not an expensive ticket. So 12 all 5 would cost you $5 for 50 cents. 12-5 all would cost you $5 for 50 cents. So you're only $10 invested in, and you've got your long shot finishing second or third. So play that for however many times you want. If you were going to bet 40 to win on Dive Bomber, maybe you end up playing the trifecta 10 times that way, or 4 times that way for each of those $10 possible combinations. Dornoch is the top pick in here for everybody else, though. They're going with the Gargan trainee coming out of that good race at Monmouth. But to me, I just think it's all about Dive Bomber. So I'm happy to see this as I look across the handicapper selectors box, because I'm saying I think the horse is 6-5. There are 4 other handicappers who disagree with me. So we might get 2-1, 5-2, 3-1, and that outside post might make it appealing enough to play. At 3-1, I'm making a big win bet on Dive Bomber if we can get it. And based on this, seeing the handicapper selectors box, 3-1 doesn't seem like it might be out of the question in the 6th race. Okay, let's go to the 7th race next up. Pick 4 times starting here. Second leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. This is a turf allowance at 1.5 miles on the grass. Marathoners going the trip in here. And look, I really like the pedigree on number 3, Kitten Mischief. So I'm going for a long shot play in here. It's one of my key plays of the day. Like mother, like son, Kitten Mischief. Nobody else has this runner in their top 3. I love it. We're going to get a price on one of our key plays of the day. Race number 7, we're going with the 3. Love the post position in here to save ground on the 3-turn configuration. And the mother, Kitten's Point, won the Dowager Stakes here at Keeneland in the final race of her career, going the 1.5 miles on the turf. This horse has run twice at Keeneland, ran good both times. I think the inner post position here is going to suit. The change to Florent Giroux is the difference. This horse has not been able to kind of get in the race early and finish quite well enough at Keeneland. Has run well over the course. But I think with a more aggressive early jockey, and we've seen Giroux with horses on the turf, he gets him into the race. There's no speed at all in the 2-hole. The 1 doesn't look particularly fast in here. So if Kitten Mischief just doesn't fall completely out the back of the field, if she's mid-pack in this race, I think she's got a major upset chance under Giroux, riding for Jonathan Thomas, a very high percentage trainer in New York in turf races. So outstanding chance here. Kitten's Mischief, one of my plays of the day. Her mama could flat out run over this turf course. So the daughter of Kitten's Point, she ran, of course, for Graham Motion, if you remember her back in the day. This one for Jonathan Thomas and Augustin Stables. Kitten Mischief, one of my key plays of the day. And we are on the island, as I like to say, in race number 7. Nobody else has the 3 in their top 3 selections. The 1 is named 911 Turbo, top pick by Scott and Caton, coming out of a second place finish in the Del Mar Handicap. Former maiden claimer for the Hall of Famer Neil Drysdale, who doesn't send too many here to Keeneland anymore. He gets Flavian Pratt to ride in What a consistent runner this one has been. What is it? 7 races in a row in the exacta. So you can expect 911 Turbo to be right there. I've got him picked to make it 8 in a row in the exacta. I've got him picked in there in the second spot. As far as the multi-race wagers go, I would go just 2 deep in here. If you want to go 3 deep, I wouldn't argue with you with Sherrard because the way the Todd Pletcher trainees are running so well, Johnny V off to a good start at the meet. And in any Keeneland turf allowance race, you have to respect the Kentucky Downs form. That's where Sherrard comes from. So maybe we do go 3 deep in here, 1, 3, and 4 for the multi-race wagers. But I'm definitely on the 3 as one of my key plays of the day. I'm going to try to get to this horse with daily doubles in races 6 and 7. Multi-race bets that kind of get you in and through there, and use Kitten Mischief in all the exactas tries that you want to play, and certainly on the top on the win end. We're going to get a nice win price, and you want to get win money on a horse who's going to go off at a nice, fair, honest price. Okay, let's go to the 8th race on the program. Race number 8 is next up. Allowance company here, first level allowance, and I'm going with the outside runner in here, Rarify. What an impressive performance this horse had here at Keeneland last October as a 2-year-old. That filly by Bella Jolie by Justify out of Bella Jolie, $750,000 blue blood. And she really connected here in the 3rd career start at Keeneland after nibbling in 2 races at Saratoga. Now, we haven't seen Rarify since, but Wesley Ward brings her back in an allowance spot, a very logical post or very logical place for a filly with her resume to run back. The fact that she's run good early in her career, she can run fresh. I'm assuming if she has any development about her based on the workout tab, which looks solid enough to me, I'm going to assume that Rarify comes back ready to run. They go to Rosario here with Wesley Ward. Not a confident pick in here, but I liked what I saw here in the fall as a 2-year-old. 2-year-olds don't always develop at 3, so does she have a move forward in her? If she does, then she's a factor in this race. If she doesn't, then you're going to look to somebody else. This is one of the least confident races I have on the card. I think the horse right to her inside, Exceed for Shug McGahee, or for Chad Brown, I should say. Definitely a horse back in a dirt sprint that you want to see, because last time out and 2 starts back went 2 turns in the Wilton up at Saratoga. Last time out was on the turf. So Exceed gets back to a dirt sprint, and that's what she does best. This daughter of Into Mischief out of Jaboom. Really good Juddmonte pedigree there on the dam side. Exceed one that you could certainly use. And the 2 Pumpkin Scone has to be respected for trainer Brad Cox. 7.5 length winner last time out at Ellis Park and 110 and change going wire to wire. Should be speed, should be down on the inside. There is some other pace in this race, so we will see how fast they go in here. I think this is a race you want to spread and get a little bit of coverage in race number 8. Let's see what the other handicappers have in this spot. You Little Vixen, the 7, a horse we haven't mentioned yet. Exceed, top pick on a couple, and Rarify with Kim. So 10, 11, and 7 are horses all picked on top in this particular race. You Little Vixen, a horse coming out of Prairie Meadows in a fast time, 109 and change for Kelly Von Amel. Twirling Candy filly who just ran off and hit in Iowa in the career debut. A confident move to come here to Kentucky and take on Allowance Company out of that race at Prairie Meadows on the 11th of September. $110,000 allowance purse will do that for you. We will see how You Little Vixen fares in here. We haven't mentioned Rosie's Alibi, a Justify $600,000 filly for Todd Pletcher. As good as Pletcher's been with the young horses at this meet, we'll see if Rosie's Alibi, a 3-year-old filly, can get to the winner's circle. I think Zeitlos is a horse that you can definitely consider in here for Steve Asmussen. Daughter of Curlin's got good form, moves turf to dirt. Multi-race wagers, I think you really want to spread in this race. Pumpkin Scone, Rosie's Alibi, Zeitlos, Exceed, Rarify. I'm 5 deep in a multi-race wager that runs through race number 8. I think you've got to use them. And if you want to throw Scott's horse in there from Prairie Meadows, that brings you up to 6 possibilities. There are a lot of ways you can turn in race number 8. Okay, let's go to the 9th race. It's the feature race. It's the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. It will end the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, and it's also my final key play of the day. Now, we've got an international cast in this race, like few seen at Keeneland or any American racetrack, not hosting the Breeders' Cup that weekend. There's just tremendous form from overseas. We're talking 1,000 Guineas winners, 1,000 Guineas placed horses in both France and England. Just some absolutely top shelf runners. We saw a filly, Elusive Princess, already leave the ranks of Europe and come to Saratoga and win the Saratoga Oaks Invitational. She was 5th in the French Oaks and very competitive in there at 8-1 after running 2nd in the key prep for the French Oaks at Longchamp in May. So we already know Elusive Princess's quality. She's come here and shown it. What will Maj do? A horse who won the 1,000 Guineas in May for Saeed bin Sarour and Godolphin. We're going to see Maj making the ship over here. Alonda Queen's got a ton of class from overseas. Sounds of Heaven comes in, a horse who was third in the Coronation Stakes Group 1 over at Ascot. So there is some tremendous form in here. One of the other fillies that we're going to see is a horse who was in the French Oaks at 12-1, ran second in the French Guineas. Her name is Lindy. She did show up in Allowance Company and won at Kentucky Downs at 38 cents on the dollar. Like the other filly we talked about, Elusive Princess in here, she's got the French form and already a race under her belt here in the States. She's going to be ridden by Tyler Gaffleone, and earlier this week, Tom Leach, the voice of the Wildcats, and Keeneland Select caught up with Tyler to talk to him about his mount. Let's hear about Lindy for the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup.
Tyler Gaffleone is going to be aboard Lindy in the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. You've ridden her the one time down at Kentucky Downs. What was most impressive about her win that day?
You know, everything she did was really impressive that day. It was her first time in the States, first time with Brendan Walsh. She broke great. She put herself in a good spot, traveled like a winner throughout, and honestly just gave me a ton of confidence moving forward. I think she's a really talented filly. She's run second in some Group 1s over there to arguably the top 3-year-old filly in the world right now. But we're very excited about her. She's a very exciting prospect.
Had Brendan been able to get much of a scouting report on her to give to you that day?
That day, he had a couple works with her. He obviously, reading her form, she looked like a talented filly, but he said she had a couple of really nice works. And even after the race, she had a work 2 weeks ago that really opened her eyes and kind of gives us the confidence.
Oh, good. Turn of foot, was that anything that was particularly noteworthy, her acceleration?
Most definitely. Just one of those, you just kind of sit back and have fun and let her do her thing. Coming in the stretch that day, I wanted to find the best ground, worked myself pretty far off the fence that day, and as soon as I just gave her a head a little bit, she exploded.
Feel confident about the 1 1/8?
Yeah, I don't see it being an issue whatsoever.
And thanks to Tom for that. You can get his interviews on YouTube each and every racing day that he has with connections leading up to some of the big Keeneland races. Go to Keeneland Official, the page that you want to look at on YouTube for all the information from Tom Leach with his interviews with the horsemen and connections. We've got a lot of Europeans in this race that we have to sort out, right? We've talked about Elusive Princess, who's already been here once, Lindy, Sounds of Heaven, Alonda Queen. Maj might be the favorite in this spot because she won the 1,000 Guineas and was a 9-1 proposition to do that. That's the top mile race for 3-year-old fillies in the spring at Ascot, or at Newmarket, I should say. And the 1,000 Guineas winner hasn't been seen since. So let's give you a sense of what she looks like in action when she went head-to-head with Tahira, who's gone on to the Irish Oaks in some big-time races this year. This was the English 1,000 Guineas from earlier this year at Newmarket.
Tahira, she'll be about 8th now, making her run. Remarco's behind her, and then Column's Dream of Love as they head then down past the bushes now. Tahira in the green, chasing Maj with Mama's Girl towards the right into contention as well. Lazoo's not far behind on the far side of the course, and still Matilda Peacock with a little bit of a chance as well. Heading down into the dip now, in blue Maj, in green Tahira. This pair are clearing the Kipco 1,000 Guineas. Behind them in third place is Matilda Peacock, and it's Maj in the blue colours fighting on strongly. Tahira the green jacket, but it's Maj just in front of Tahira. They're well clear.
So a determined winner there in May. How will she come back? And do the public handicappers think it's about Maj in this particular spot? Scott Hazelton has the faith. He's got the 4 picked on top. I've got Maj second. Everybody's got a little respect for Maj, it seems, but they're going to try to beat her in some cases. Sounds of Heaven, the top pick for Tom in here. Papilio for Mark Cassidy, top choice in here for Caton. Interesting long shot pick in there. And Kim Nelson's got Elusive Princess, the Saratoga Oaks winner from France for Arnaud Delacour as her top pick. I'm using one of my key plays of the day because I just want to go for the price here. It's 20-1 on prerequisite in the morning line. When have you seen Chad Brown in a grade 1 Philly turf race with Irad Ortiz riding at 20-1 in the morning line. And the horse could be 20-1. I'm not knocking the line maker at all in here. Nick Tamaro may have it spot on, but I like it because it's an opportunity you don't get to see often. And also, I like the profile of this race where I have a little more confidence. Now, the Europeans are not my cup of tea. Like you, I go back and I do the research. I watch the race videos. I try to get a sense of them. I read stuff out of the Racing Post, Sporting Life, publications like that that are online to try to gather what information I can. But I'm not an expert on the Europeans. So we've got 4 or 5 of them in here that all look very good. I don't know how to separate those. So what I'm going to do is do what I know best. And Chad Brown on the turf with Irad Ortiz and the trends for this Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. Remember earlier I said these trends and stats and things like that are tiebreakers. They split hairs for you, but they don't just pick a horse out of the clear blue. This race has been a race over the years where we have seen in the Queen Elizabeth, the Challenge Cup, front end speed do exceptionally well in this race. Over the last 9 years, the average winner of this race was only 3/4 of a length off the lead after the opening half mile. Horses don't rally from big gaps back in this race. And horses from New York have had really good success. In the 17 years of our database, Naira Preppers won this race 9 times, easily most of any circuit. So I want a horse with a little bit of speed, a horse coming out of the races in New York, and I get Chad and Irad. Fits the profile in here. You want your horses to be in the ballpark in this race. You don't want to be coming from the clouds historically. Prerequisite, I think, a horse in the Belmont Oaks Invitational 2 starts back was up near the pace and ran a big one that day to run second over 1.25 miles. Last time out at 1.16 miles on good turf was a little bit further back off the pace than probably would be successful and just ran evenly all the way around. This horse can maintain her pace, and I think if she goes towards the front with an outer post draw in this race, I think they're going to send Prerequisite towards the front. And if she's near the front, she's not going to give up a lead easily. They're going to have to come and run and get her. And at a big price, why not take a shot? I would also look at back wheeling her underneath all the logical Europeans. If one of the Europeans runs her down and she runs second at a big number, you're going to be very happy to have that. So the 4, the 2, Yolanda Queen in there, I think, is a horse you want to use in the exactas as well. Maj, obviously. In the exactas, Lindy, Sounds of Heaven. Use all the unit horses over the top pick in here, Prerequisite, the 11. And I think you could get a good backup exacta that way. So the 11 to win, and then all the logical players over the 11. That's the way I'm going to attack the race, intra-race. When it comes to multi-race bets, I think you want to go about 5 deep in here. Use 4 or 5 of the top Europeans. Use Prerequisite as the American hope in here, and get to the final leg of the pick 5 and the pick 4, which I think we can settle down in with the single. The 10th and final race is the return of First Mission, the winner of the Lexington Stakes here in the spring. What an edition of the Lexington Stakes it was this spring, right? First Mission won it and was probably going to be favored or second choice in the Preakness before being injured and scratched out of the Preakness Stakes. Remember, there was a debate whether First Mission would get played or Mage would get played back out of the Kentucky Derby. First Mission was forced to the sidelines out of that race. But when he won the Lexington Stakes here in the spring, the second place finisher, Arabian Lion, has since returned to win the Pacific Classic against older horses. And the third place finisher, Disarm, ran top 5 in the Kentucky Derby and then came back and ran second in the Travers Stakes. For a grade 3 Lexington, that was one of the best editions of that race we've seen in several years. And it was a win for First Mission in that spot. It's a 1.16 mile race here in the 10th and final. It's Brad Cox going a 1.16 mile for the 3rd time on the card. You know I like this other 2. Get this. When Brad Cox's horses have the rail in a 1.16 mile, we told you he wins 31% when he just runs a horse a 1.16 mile on the dirt at Keeneland. When he's got the rail, he's had it 11 times. 7 winners and a 3rd place finish. He's 7 for 11 at a 1.16 mile from the rail. He's got the favorite in here. That's a stone cold, the number that you'll see. The horse is training well. I don't see him beating First Mission in here. I think it's a short price. It's just a single. Get to the last race. Like I said, you can use several horses in some of those other legs leading up to the pick 4 and pick 5, ending here in the finale. But I think First Mission's just a single in there. If you're looking for an exacta, Creative Minister, 3rd place finisher in last year's Preakness, a horse who's run well here at Keeneland in the past, broke its maiden at Keeneland back in the day. Creative Minister is a horse who I think can run well underneath, but I don't think Creative Minister on his best day is anywhere as good as First Mission on his best day. So in the nightcap, I don't have a strong opinion to push other than who the winner will be. And I think it's going to be a fairly short priced exacta. 110.8 seems to be pretty popular amongst all of our public handicappers. Not a lot of money to be made in the finale. So look, it's a great betting race in the 9th. We talked about the 8th being wide open, not a strong opinion in there. But let's not wait till the last race on the card to try to get everything and get out, because you're probably looking at a short price. That's why we do this, the Keeneland look ahead, because if you're just handicapping race by race by race by race, and then you crack open the form for the last race on the card, and you see a horse like First Mission, well, then what are you going to do? You're going to end up like, all right, I'm in the hole for the day, and I need to get out, and I can't bet this horse at 3 to 5. So what do you start to do? You try to overdo it with supers and super high fives or something, which are very difficult to hit, or you go betting horses that you just play because they have a better price than the horse that you actually think is going to win the race. That to me is never the recommended deal. If two horses you like are the same, are different prices, then you take the higher of the two. But don't bet a horse you don't like over a horse you do like just because that horse has a better price. Prepare, be ahead, get to this last race. Whoever you like in the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup, play him in a daily double, the First Mission in the finale too, because not only will you get your win bet, but you could also kind of parlay it and get even a better price, maybe get double your money on the win bet as well by just taking a very logical horse. Say your horse that you liked in the QE2 is going to pay $10 to win. The double may pay $20 using First Mission in the last race. So if you can do that and kind of double your money with not taking a huge risk by taking a huge favorite in that second leg, it's a good way to build out some value. But you only know that when you look ahead and prepare ahead. And that's why we do this. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Saturday, October 14th Keeneland Look Ahead. Thanks for sharing some of your Friday night or Saturday morning if you're watching on the archives now. I'll be back on Saturday night to look at a Sunday card that features a Breeders' Cup champion and Caravel back in the Franklin Stakes. Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk to you Saturday. Good luck at the race.